discovered. The incredible journey of an Apache who gave up his farms for a life-changing love. Jake stood at the edge of his family's farm, the sun setting behind the red rocks and casting long shadows over the dry soil. Once bountiful fields lay cracked and barren, and with each passing day, the weight of his ancestors' legacy bore down on his shoulders, threatening to crush him. He could hear his father's voice echoing through his mind, a constant reminder of tradition and duty, but the dream he had always held felt just out of reach, like a fleeting whisper in the wind. His heart raced as Lena entered his world like a sudden storm, shaking up everything he believed. A passionate teacher who fought for her students each day, she challenged him to see beyond the horizon. With her bright smile and infectious laughter, she became a ray of hope that pierced through his doubts and fears. Moments spent with her felt electric, igniting a courage inside him he didn't know existed, sparking dreams of a future beyond the constraints of tradition. But fear gripped him as he thought of his father's disapproval. Could love coexist with legacy? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. But heartbreak struck when Lena's own life pulled her away, leaving Jake alone with his thoughts as a catastrophic drought swept through the community like a thief in the night. The soil cried out for rain, and so did he. As crops withered and the once proud farm became a reminder of dreams that were slipping away, Jake felt despair creeping in. He could almost hear the whispers of his ancestors who had fought tooth and nail to preserve their land. It shouldn't feel like a burden, he thought, but it did. When the neighbors rallied for a meeting, frustration coursed through him. Adrenaline pumped, and he stood to voice his concerns, not only about the drought, but about his yearning for understanding and unity. His words hung in the air, raw and vulnerable, and for the first time he spoke of Lena. As he shared his feelings, he noticed the shift in the crowd. Some leaned in, while others grew tense. The potential for acceptance felt close, yet fear brewed in the shadows. Just as things seemed to click, a voice rose from the back, a voice of criticism that threatened to unravel everything. Jake's heart raced as old tensions flared within the crowd. Would they ever come together, or were the bonds of tradition too strong? He stood on a precipice, gazing into a future blurred by uncertainty as the air crackled with anticipation. He faced the frailty of human connection, the lines drawn by love and culture, pushing and pulling against each other. Overhead, thunder rumbled, but it was only a prelude to the storms that lay ahead. Jake's heart pounded as the voice from the back cut through the tension like a knife. It was Old Man Riggins, a figure revered yet feared in equal measure. His harsh critiques had silenced many over the years. Now he stood up, eyes narrowed, ready to debunk Jake's hopes and dreams. Love and tradition can't coexist, he proclaimed, his voice filled with a bitterness that stung. You want to embrace change? What's next? Letting outsiders dictate our ways. The crowd murmured in agreement, heads nodding in solemnity. Jake felt the heat rising to his cheeks. It was as if the very air around him had thickened, suffocating his thoughts. He could feel his father's spirit looming, a heavy hand on his shoulder, urging him to retreat, to conform to the old ways. But then he thought of Lena, her cheers for every small victory in her classroom, her hope as bountiful as the rain his fields pleaded for. The reminder of her laughter sent adrenaline coursing through him. No, he found his voice, louder now, steadying with determination. Tradition is important, but it shouldn't keep us from growing. We can honor the past while embracing what's to come. More murmurs rippled through the crowd. Jake took a breath, searching for allies among familiar faces. He saw Maggie, a young mother, tears glistening in her eyes as she grasped her son's small hand. He recognized that she struggled to provide for her family with every failing crop. We must come together, he shouted, allowing the emotion to pour through him. We're all hurting, but isolation only breeds despair. As awareness washed over the crowd, a sense of awakening began to flicker. Comments erupted, a chorus of voices now rising to challenge the old ways. For the first time, Jake felt like he wasn't just alone. He was part of something greater. Suddenly, a thunderous clap of lightning lit up the sky. The wind swirled around them, whipping up dust from the dry earth. "Here it comes," someone yelled, looking toward the horizon, and Jake sensed a new energy in the air. Maybe, just maybe, they could weather the storm together. But through the chaos, doubt crept in again. Would the fire of their unity be strong enough against the raging winds of tradition? What if Riggins was right? Jake's heart sank, uncertainty gnawing at him. Could one man's desire for love truly turn the tide, or would his dreams drown in the tempest of expectations? Just then, Lena's face flashed in his mind, brightening his thoughts even in the darkest moments. He remembered her unwavering spirit, her dedication to change, how she brought out a strength in him he never knew he had. If nothing else, he had to fight for her, for the love that sparked a transformation he could barely comprehend. As Jake steadied himself against the emotional onslaught, a feeling of resolve surged within him. "We will not give up," he shouted into the howling wind, earning stunned looks from the crowd. "Together, as a community, we will find our way." But just as he spoke, another crack of thunder echoed through the valley, and the ground beneath them began to shake. A storm was brewing, a storm not just of weather, but of truth, of familial bonds, and Jake knew they would face it together. The realization sunk in, demanding answers. Would they stand against the storm, or would they be swept away? As the first raindrops fell, heavy and cold, one thought gripped Jake. The battle for his heart had only just begun. The path still lay before him, divergent and fierce, with rain soaking him to the bone. He glanced around the crowd, determination flaring deep within. Would they choose a new way forward, or lead each other back into the shadows of tradition? The rain began to pour as an unexpected call pierced through the air, a voice Jake had not expected to hear. "We need to talk, Jake," came a familiar voice. It was Lena, standing just beyond the crowd. Her expression was steeped in concern and resolve. The rain blurred the images around him, but her presence was a beacon. What would she say? The rain poured down in sheets, soaking through Jake's clothes and mingling with the sweat from his brow. He could barely hear the voices of the crowd, their concerns drowned in the roar of the storm. But Lena stood tall against the chaos, her eyes locked onto his. It felt like they were the only two people left in the world. "Jake!" she shouted, stepping closer, her voice cutting through the thunder. "We have to go somewhere safe." He hesitated, caught between the choice he'd just made to rally the community and the pull of Lena's presence. But seeing the worry etched on her face stirred something deep within him. The crowd looked to him for guidance, but at that moment, all he could think about was her. "Let us find shelter," he finally replied, motioning for her to follow him as they broke away from the mass of people. They dashed toward the old barn on the edge of the property. It had stood as a testament to their family's legacy, a place filled with memories of laughter and hard work. Now, it felt like a refuge, a sanctuary where they could confront what was brewing, both outside and within. As they stepped inside, the smell of damp wood and the earthy scent of hay enveloped them. They paused to catch their breath, water streaming from Jake's hair into his eyes. Lena brushed a stray hair from her forehead, her expression fierce yet gentle. "I don't want you to get hurt out there," she said, her voice softening. "Not from Old Man Riggins or the storms. You have this fire inside you, Jake, and I see it. But you can't take it all on alone." Jake felt a rush of warmth at her words, like a light breaking through the darkest night. "You believe in me?" he asked, an edge of vulnerability creeping into his tone. "Of course I do," she said, stepping closer. The raindrops danced on the roof, pulsing in rhythm with his heart. "But we need to be smart. You can't fight every battle by yourself. What you set out there, it's powerful, but what does it mean if you're swept away in the process?" He looked at her, his insides twisting. "I'm not sure I can go back to what it used to be. This feeling of hope, it makes me feel alive in a way I haven't in years." Lena nodded, her eyes reflecting his struggle. You have to hold on to that, Jake. But maybe, just maybe, you don't need to carry it all. Let us build something together. We can merge the old with the new. It doesn't have to be one or the other. Her words landed gently, but they struck a chord. Could he really open up to this idea? Could the community welcome change? And would they see all that uncertainty as a chance for something better instead of a threat? Jake's breathing slowed, calming in the shelter of the barn. Just then, a loud crash echoed from outside, followed by the ominous creaking of the barn's old structure. What was that? He asked, his eyes darting to the door. Whatever it is, it's a sign, Lena said firmly, taking his hand. We need to step out and face this together. Suddenly emboldened, Jake clenched her hand tighter, feeling the weight of their intertwined destinies. Okay, he said, determination filling him once more. We'll do this. But as they made their way to the door, opening it to the storm's fury outside, an unexpected flash of lightning illuminated the ground around them. There, in the field, stood Old Man Riggins, his silhouette deceptively calm against the raging elements. What does he want? Jake whispered, dread pooling in his stomach. Lena squeezed his hand again, a silent reminder of their bond. Whatever it is, we'll face it together, one Tiwi. As they stepped out into the tempest, Jake knew that the real test was about to begin. What awaited them on that stormy path, both from Riggins and the community, would shape his fight for love forever. But would they be ready to embrace it? The wind howled fiercely as Jake and Lena stepped into the storm. Each gust whipped against their faces, but it was the sight of Old Man Riggins that froze Jake in place. The old man's silhouette loomed large against the tempest, his presence a stark contrast to the chaos. What do you want, Riggins? Jake called out, his voice barely above the roar of the wind. He could feel adrenaline coursing through him, but all he could think about was protecting Lena. Riggins remained still, gazing at them with a mix of curiosity and challenge. You've stirred quite the commotion, boy, he finally replied, his voice gruff but steady. And you've got the whole community riled up. But do you really know what you're asking for? Jake's heart raced. I know exactly what I want to change, he shouted back, his conviction growing with each word. We can't keep living like this. There's a future to fight for, and I believe we can do it together. A crack of lightning lit the sky, illuminating Riggins' face just long enough for Jake to see a flicker of something, perhaps recognition, perhaps worry in the old man's eyes. You think this is about you? Riggins boomed, stepping closer, his voice mixing with the thunder. You think spouting hope will change decades of tradition? Lena squeezed Jake's hand tighter, grounding him. She didn't look at Riggins but kept her eyes steady on Jake. You're more than a voice, Jake. You're their hope. But Riggins is right about one thing. Change doesn't come easy, she said softly, her gaze never wavering. Riggins laughed, a sound that shattered the downpour's rhythm. You think you can dismantle what I've built? My father's blood, sweat, and tears are tied to this land. You have a lot to learn, kid. Jake swallowed hard. Part of him felt small under the weight of Riggins' words. But it was Lena's unwavering stare that fueled him. We're not trying to destroy anything. We want to create, to build a future that includes everyone, not just the old guard. Talk is cheap, boy, Riggins challenged, crossing his arms. Show me you're serious. Get the community behind you, every last one of them. Then we'll see if your fire burns bright or just flickers out. Jake's chest tightened. He couldn't just rely on words anymore. He had to act. But what if the community turned against him? What if they preferred the familiar struggles to the unknown risks of true change? Let us make a stand, Lena urged, her voice gentle yet powerful. You're not alone in this. We can gather support, even those who might disagree. Are you ready to dig deep, Jake? You're gonna have to confront more than Riggins if you want this. Lena continued, her eyes blazing with passion. You'll face fear and doubt, not just from him, but from everyone. What you're proposing will shake the very foundations of their lives. Jake felt the weight of her words sink in. It wouldn't just be a battle against Riggins. It would be against the fears of his own people, their hesitations to leave behind everything they had ever known. With a fierce nod, he faced Riggins again. I will gather support, not just for me or for what I want, but for everyone who feels trapped and afraid. This isn't just my fight anymore. It's ours. Riggins raised an eyebrow, studying Jake closely. You think you can turn this tide? Then you better be ready for the backlash. You might lose more than just a few friends. I'm willing to risk it, Jake replied, a new sense of resolve tightening his fist. Because I believe in something greater. As thunder rumbled ominously, Riggins stepped back, nodding slowly. Fine. I'll be watching. Don't disappoint me, boy. You've got your work cut out for you. Jake felt an aching sense of anticipation wash over him. The storm was more than just raging winds and relentless rain. He was standing on the brink of something monumental. The fight for change had just begun, but would he forge alliances or endanger everything in the process? Now what? Lena whispered as Riggins scuffed his way back into the storm, leaving behind swirling winds and uncertainty. That question lingered in the air. Jake turned to Lena, determination igniting in his eyes. Now we rally the community and I need you by my side. But even as he spoke, a shadow of doubt crept in. Would they rise together, or would fear drive them apart? The storm loomed heavy still, but a different kind of weight pressed on Jake's heart. Pushing against the fierce wind, he pulled Lena close. Her presence was like an anchor in the tempest. He could feel the strength radiating from her, mixing with the fear and determination swirling inside him. We need to start with the people who trust us, Lena said, her voice steady even as the wind threatened to drown it out. Before we try to convince the whole community, let us talk to our neighbors, the ones who feel what we're feeling. Jake nodded, his resolve hardening. You're right. We need to build a foundation of support. He took a moment to focus, scanning the dimly lit street beyond Riggins' looming shadow. Let us go see the Thompsons first. They've got kids who need a future to believe in. Good idea. Lena smiled despite the storm, and it brought a flicker of warmth to the chill around them as they made their way down the dirt path. Rain poured in sheets, but their determination cut through the elements. Each step felt both heavy and light, as if they were treading into a new realm where change was possible if only they could convince others to see it too. Knocking on the Thompsons' door, they waited anxiously. Jake's finger tapped against his thigh, a rhythm of rising uncertainty. What if Mr. Thompson slammed the door in their faces? What if he stood on old rituals more than the promise of change? Finally, the door creaked open, revealing Mrs. Thompson's worn face. Shock turned to curiosity as she took in the soaked figures before her. Jake? Lena? What brings you here in this weather? Can we come in? Lena asked, her eyes pleading. Mrs. Thompson stepped aside, allowing them entry. The warmth from the fire inside wrapped around them, a stark contrast to the chaos outside. You two look like you've just battled a hurricane, she joked lightly, though concern etched in her features. More like a storm of our own making, Jake replied, taking a deep breath as he gathered his thoughts. We need to talk about the future, about making things better not just for us, but for everyone. Riggins, her voice trailed off. He's a powerful force. You know that, don't you? We're not naive, Mrs. Thompson, Jake insisted, the fire inside him rekindling. But we believe there's a way to bring everyone together, to change what's broken without tearing everything apart. Her gaze shifted toward the fire, and for a moment, Jake felt her weighing the idea. Change is scary, you know. It feels easier to cling to the past. I get that. I do. Lena interjected, her voice gentler, filled with empathy. But think of your children. They deserve a world that isn't shackled by fear and suffocating traditions. We all deserve that chance. Mrs. Thompson's eyes widened a bit at the mention of her children. The thoughts stirred within her as she considered, and Jake could see her heart struggling against the anchor of fear that had weighed it down for so long. I'll talk to John, she finally said, glancing back at them. But I can't promise he'll be on board. They hold Riggins in high regard. Then we'll talk to him too, Jake declared, the fire of resolve growing. If we're going to change this place, we need to face every single person who is afraid, starting from the Thompsons to the heart of the community. Motivated by their words, Mrs. Thompson stepped a little closer, ready to share their thoughts with her husband. But as Jake glanced toward the window, the storm's howl felt like a warning. What awaited them beyond that door? "I hope you realize what you're starting," Mrs. Thompson said softly, an edge of uncertainty coloring her voice. "The harder path isn't just for you, Jake. It's for all of us." As they left the Thompsons' home, hope mingled with trepidation. The streets were quieter now, almost as if the world itself was holding its breath. "What if we're not ready for this storm?" Lena asked, her hand brushing against Jake's. "Well, it's here now, so we have to face it together," Jake replied, confidence solidifying in his chest. "Tonight we rest, and tomorrow we bring this spark to the rest of the community." But deep down, Jake wondered, was he truly prepared for what lay ahead? Would fear turn to fury as they challenged the status quo? The uncertainty loomed larger than the storm, but together, they would step into it. Whatever awaited them, Jake had only one thought: it's time to fight. The morning sun broke through the dark clouds like a promise. Jake woke up feeling a strange mix of anticipation and dread. He sat up, glancing at Lena, who was still asleep beside him. The quiet of the house felt comforting yet heavy. Today would be crucial. He could almost hear the community's murmurs, whispers of change and resistance blending into an all-consuming roar. Jake wanted to burst through that noise, but he needed a plan. Beside him, Lena stirred, her eyes gradually fluttering open. When she caught his gaze, the warmth that spread across her face filled him with reassurance. "Today's the day," Lena said, her voice soft but certain. "Yeah," he replied, brushing a strand of hair from her cheek. "We need to gather our strength." They planned to visit the other families on their street: Richardsons, Joneses, and Garcia's. Each house held memories and friendships forged over years. Jake hoped that those bonds would help convince them to join their cause. After a quick bite, they stepped outside. The air felt fresher, though remnants of the storm lingered, leaving puddles that shimmered under the sunlight. As they walked, every conversation from the night before replayed in Jake's mind. What would the others say? Would they understand? Their first stop was the Richardsons' home. The place was a small two-story with peeling paint and a garden bursting with weeds. Jake knocked lightly, and the door swung open to reveal Mr. Richardson, whose weary eyes were softened by years of hard labor. "Jake, Lena, what brings you two here?" he asked, eyebrows raised in curiosity. "We want to talk to you about something important," Lena said, her tone steady. "About the future of our neighborhood." Mr. Richardson's face hardened slightly. "You mean about that fool Riggins?" "Exactly," Jake said, desperation creeping into his voice. "We believe there's a way for all of us to steer clear of Riggins' grasp, to create a future for our kids that's free from his control." Mr. Richardson hesitated before leaning against the doorframe, his arms crossed. "You think you can take him on? He has been here forever. He has power." "We know," Jake admitted, "but we also know that power is built on fear. If we stand together, we can break it. For our kids' sake." The mention of children seemed to lift the weight in Mr. Richardson's gaze just a bit. "You think the others will follow?" "We have to try," Lena interjected, her eyes blazing with passion. "We can gather strength from each other. But we need you on board first." The old man stared into the distance, lost in thought. The tension hung in the air like a charged current. Finally, he sighed deeply. "All right, I'll talk to my wife, but don't expect much. She's a firm believer in Riggins." Jake felt a spark of hope flicker inside him. "Thank you. That's a start." They left the Richardsons with a mix of concerns and optimism. The next stop was the Joneses, a family known for their stubbornness, a challenge in itself. As they approached, Jake noticed Lena's hand tremble slightly in his own. "Hey," he said softly, squeezing it tighter. "We can do this." "I know," she replied, taking a deep breath. "It's just, what if they laugh at us?" "They might," Jake admitted. "But we've got to try. We can't let fear win. Not anymore." Stepping up to the Joneses' door, Jake knocked with firm resolve, the uncertainty swirling yet again in his stomach. Each knock felt louder than the last, echoing with the weight of their mission. But uncertainty wasn't the only emotion swirling. Beneath that, there lay a fierce determination. The strength of those who believed would rise up, overwhelming the doubts. Whatever it took, Jake knew they were ready to face whatever came their way. Just as the door began to creak open, a voice called from the street, pulling their attention. "Jake! Lena! Wait!" It was Mrs. Garcia, her expression a mix of urgency and confusion. "You need to hear this." Jake and Lena exchanged glances, the tension building once more. What news awaited them? Time felt as thick as the heavy air around them. "Come on, let us find out," Jake urged, stepping toward her, his heart racing. Mrs. Garcia hurried toward them, her brow furrowed with worry. "You won't believe what I just heard," she said, glancing back as if the shadows of their street held secrets ready to slip away. "What is it?" Lena asked, her worry mirrored on Jake's face. "It's about Riggins. There are rumors that he's planning something. Something big," Mrs. Garcia continued, her voice dropping to a near whisper. "He's not just looking to control our homes. He wants to take over the community entirely." Jake felt the color drain from his face. "What do you mean?" "They say he's bringing in reinforcements. Some of his associates, people we don't know. It's not just idle talk. He's readying people to push back against anyone who dares to oppose him." Lena clutched Jake's hand tighter. "This could change everything," she breathed. "Exactly. We don't have much time," Mrs. Garcia urged, her eyes darting around anxiously. "If we don't act quickly, we might lose our chance." All at once, a storm of thoughts swirled in Jake's mind. They had come to rally support, but now it felt like they were standing at the edge of a cliff, the ground beneath them crumbling. "What can we do?" he asked, gripping Lena's hand for support. "We need to gather everyone tonight. We can't let Riggins catch us off guard," Mrs. Garcia suggested. "If we can unite quickly, we might turn this around. They won't expect a fight." Lena's expression shifted from fear to determination. "She's right. We can't wait for the others to decide. We have to take charge." "Okay, let's do it. We start with the Joneses. They need to know what's at stake," Jake said, his earlier uncertainty fading. He could already feel the power of their shared resolve begin to uplift him as they approached the Jones household. Jake noticed the shadows falling across their garden, deepening the colors in the early evening light. A sense of urgency surged through him. If Mrs. Garcia was right, and she often was, they had to act now. The moment the door opened, Jake launched into a rapid explanation. "Mr. Jones, we need your help. It's about Riggins. We've heard he's preparing for something bigger, and we need to rally everyone together. Tonight." Mr. Jones studied them closely, the moment stretching out painfully. "What are you saying? You just want us to rush and confront Riggins with nothing solid behind us?" "No," Lena interjected, her voice filled with passion. "We want to unite. All of us. We can't let fear control our lives any longer. We owe it to our kids. This is about their future." With each word, tension crackled in the air. It felt like they were at a tipping point, and Jake could sense the intertwining threads of hope and anxiety in the room. "I don't know." Mr. Jones hesitated. "Look, we're not trying to put you in danger. We're suggesting we meet tonight. Just talk and see how we can come together," Jake urged, sweat gathering at his brow. "We have to try, for all our sakes." Minutes felt like hours as Mr. Jones pondered. Finally, a flicker of resolve crossed his face. "Okay, I'll gather my family, but I'm not making any guarantees. We can't afford to lose trust in one another now." Jake nodded, relief washing over him. "That's all we ask." As they stepped away from the Joneses' door, Lena beamed at him, her previous worries melting away. "One step closer," she said softly. "Yeah," he replied, but his heart still thudded nervously. They were heading into uncharted territory, armed with hope but uncertain what would emerge from this gathering. With Mrs. Garcia at their side, they began planning how to approach the other families, the gentle wind stirring with promise. It felt like a small flicker of light in the darkness, But with night approaching, the shadows deepened. Would they succeed in rallying the community? Or would Riggins' looming threat snuff out that light before it even began to shine? Jake's mind raced as he felt the ground shift beneath their feet. They were on the precipice of everything they had built. Just as they turned towards home, determined to prepare for the looming meeting, a chilling voice echoed from behind them. "What makes you think you can stop me?" They turned, hearts racing, as Riggins stepped from the shadows. Riggins stood there, confidently draped in the darkness, a shadow himself. His presence was suffocating, an embodiment of the fears they had just begun to brave. Jake's heart raced, a primal instinct telling him to flee, but he couldn't. Lena's grip tightened around his hand, her resolve anchoring him. "What do you want, Riggins?" Jake demanded. Though his voice trembled despite his efforts to sound strong, a smirk curled Riggins' lips, illuminating the menace in his eyes. "I want to understand why a group of scared little rabbits thinks they can challenge a wolf." He stepped forward, and the moonlight revealed the glint of something sharp at his waist, a reminder of his power. "Because we're tired of living in fear," Lena fired back, finding her voice. "This community means something to us, and we won't let you take it away." Riggins snorted, dismissive. "Cute words. But talk doesn't stop me. Are you really ready to fight?" The words dripped with disdain, but Jake could see a flicker of uncertainty beneath Riggins' bravado. It was a crack in the armor and they had to exploit it. Jason hesitated, his mind racing. "You think we don't have guts? We're coming together, Riggins. One way or another you'll see that we stand united. We are not afraid of you." For the first time, Riggins' face darkened, anger replacing his amusement. "You think people will fight for you? They fear me, and rightly so. You're playing with fire." He paused, gauging their reactions, and then added, "You'll regret this." "Maybe, but we have to try," Jake shot back, his voice gaining strength. "We're ready to defend what's ours, our homes, our families." The silence that followed was thick with unspoken threats and the weight of what was to come. Riggins' eyes scanned the street, the tension almost tangible. "You think a few families are enough to stand against me? I have resources, I have power. It's not about how many you have. It's about how strong we are when we come together." Lena countered, the fire in her spirit igniting the air around them. "Underestimating us will be your biggest mistake." Riggins stepped closer, his expression flickering between irritation and intrigue. "Then make your move," he taunted, casting a glance over his shoulder as if he were leaving the door open for retreat. Jake took a deep breath. This was the moment where fear and determination collided. "We will. You won't be able to take this from us without a fight." A low chuckle emerged from Riggins, filled with contempt. "We'll see who really stands united when the pressure rises." He turned, striding back into the obscurity that birthed him, his commanding figure a stark contrast against the fading light. When he was gone, the weight of his presence lingered. Jake felt its chill creeping under his skin. The moment passed, and they stood together, breathless. Lena broke the silence first, her stronger-than-ever voice breaking through the shadows. "We can do this, Jake. We have to believe in each other." Jake nodded, even though doubt gnawed at him. They had a plan, but that plan now felt heavier. "We can't face him alone. We need tonight to go well, then we'll find the strength to press on." Mrs. Garcia, who had been quietly observing, said, "Riggins is powerful, but he's also arrogant. That's his weakness." Her insight shone a small ray of hope. "If he thinks he can intimidate us, he'll underestimate our unity." They turned towards home, hearts pounding, minds racing with thoughts of betrayal and alliance. But as they walked, Jake couldn't shake the unease settling over him. What if Riggins wasn't wrong? What if it truly was more than they could manage? The night hung heavy around them, the darkness thick with unanswered questions. Could they unite their community against Riggins before it was too late? And would they have the courage to face what lay ahead? With a glance at Lena, he wondered if they were ready for the storm ahead. Would they find their strength before it all spiraled out of control? Or would the fear in their hearts prove Riggins right? As dawn broke, light slowly spilled over the horizon, washing away the remnants of night. Jake lay in bed, the events from the previous evening spinning in his mind like a dizzying carousel. Riggins' words had slithered into his thoughts, echoing the doubts he tried to suppress. Was uniting the community really enough? How could they stand against a man like that? He rolled over to Lena's side, but she was already up, her silhouette framed by the soft glow of the morning sun. She had always been a light in his life, a presence that calmed the unruliest storms. He admired her resolve but feared what the day would demand of them. "Good morning," she said, her voice a warm whisper that wrapped around him like a cozy blanket. "Sleep well?" "About as well as I could," Jake admitted, pushing himself up to sit on the edge of the bed. He raked a hand through his messy hair, the tangles a representation of his thoughts. "I keep thinking about Riggins. What if he's right? Jake, he's a bully." "Bullies only win if you let them," Lena replied, determination lacing her words. There was a fire in her eyes as she faced him, and he could see the strength she pulled from somewhere deep within. "We stand to lose everything if we do nothing. That's what we have to remember." Jake nodded, but a knot tightened in his stomach. "If we go ahead with our plan, if we mobilize the community, what if they want to rally behind us? What if they're too scared?" For a moment, silence filled the room. Lena stood, walking to the window and looking out at their small, sleepy town, still waking beneath the receding starry sky. "Sometimes," she said slowly, "fear can transform into courage. We just have to give them something worth fighting for." He admired her strength, even as his heart sank further. Could they really inspire that kind of belief and determination? The local diner was where they had agreed to gather everyone later that day, but the idea filled him with anxiety. What if they arrived only to retreat, afraid of Riggins' looming threat? "Mrs. Garcia was right," he finally said, the realization dawning on him. "Riggins underestimates us. We have a shot at this, but we'll need everyone to believe as much as we do." Lena turned to him, a smile warming her features. "If you're with me, I'm with you. Let us find out who's ready to fight for our homes." Her conviction was infectious, lighting a spark in him, pushing away the shadows of doubt that as they took on the day. They both knew they'd need to reach out to others, ready to ignite that same spark in them, a whole community standing together. They began with a plan, drafting a list of names of families who shared their pain. Each name sparked a memory, a moment of laughter, or a moment of struggle. This was their community, their home. Soon enough, they found themselves sharing coffee with the neighbors, discussing their fears and hopes. Jake watched as silence turned into conversation, apprehensions exchanged for nods of solidarity. Each person rallied brought a wave of relief, washing over his anxiety little by little. As the sun rose higher, the mood shifted. Laughter began to fill the diner. Friends spoke up, fueled by coffee and purpose. Yet, lurking in the back of Jake's mind was still the specter of Riggins. The looming threat felt omnipresent, waiting to pounce at the first chance. What if this unity crumbled when faced with real danger? What if Riggins retaliated before they were ready? They prepared to speak to the entire community later, and as Jake glanced at Lena, he caught a glimpse of determination in her eyes. It flickered like a beacon, lighting a path through the fog of unease that surrounded them. Before they could leave the diner, a figure appeared at the door, silhouetted against the glare of the sun. It was someone they didn't expect to see, the town sheriff. Jake felt his heart drop, the doubts rushing back as he wondered what the sheriff's arrival might mean. Was he there to support them, or had Riggins already pulled some strings? He exchanged a worried glance with Lena, exchanging silent questions. Would this confrontation be what they truly needed, or something that would drive them further apart? The moment held its breath, and as the sheriff stepped inside, Jake's mind raced with possibilities. What news could he bring? Would it help them, or throw them deeper into uncertainty? Could he hold the key to our fight? Jake pondered. Or is this going to complicate everything? Jake held his breath as the sheriff stepped further inside the diner, his uniform stark against the mingling faces of neighbors. Every pair of eyes turned to him. A sudden hush settled like a thick fog, the air electrified with tension. "Jake, Lena," the sheriff called, his voice steady but not without weight. "I need to speak to you both urgently." A wave of anxiety coursed through Jake, but he couldn't let it cloud his resolve. He nodded, motioning for Lena to join him as they stepped towards the sheriff. "What's going on?" Jake asked, trying to mask the tremble in his voice. "I've been hearing whispers," the sheriff said, his brow furrowed in concern. "Riggins isn't just planning something for himself. He's mobilizing a group. People are getting restless. This isn't just about protecting his interests anymore. He wants to maintain control over our whole community." Jake felt his stomach drop. "So it's worse than we thought?" "He's trying to intimidate everyone." "Exactly. But that's why I'm here," the sheriff continued, glancing at the patrons in the diner, their eyes wide with intrigue. "You have the potential to turn this around. The strength of the community lies with those who are willing to stand up. But you need to rally everyone like never before." Lena stepped forward, determination glimmering in her eyes. "We're doing just that, Sheriff. We're having a meeting tonight to unite everyone against his intimidation." The sheriff nodded. "Good. I can't promise that we'll all agree. There are plenty who fear Riggins' wrath. But I will be there alongside you. We have to show that fear doesn't control us anymore." The air shifted around them, and a murmur broke out among the townsfolk in attendance. One by one, faces lit up with cautious hope. "If the sheriff believes in us, maybe we can do this," someone whispered. "Tonight, we'll confront Riggins together," Jake announced, his voice barely above a passionate roar. "We'll show him that a community can't be torn apart by fear." That single statement ignited a spark in the diner. Laughter turned to conversation again, energy bubbling up in waves as people exchanged looks of understanding. This was a defining moment not only for Jake and Lena but for everyone who felt trapped, suffocated in their silence, as the gathering grew more animated. Lena reached for Jake's hand again, squeezing it tightly. "We can't let this moment slip. Tonight we have to stand our ground." "Together," he replied, echoing her sentiment. He could feel the momentum shift, and the realization hit more than just fighting against Riggins. This was about reclaiming their own narrative, their shared dreams. With renewed vigor, they left the diner, stepping back into the sunlight. This was no longer just Jake's fight. It belonged to everyone willing to stand beside them. "We'll talk to every neighbor we can before tonight," Lena suggested, determination piercing through her earlier fears. "Yes. We'll need to remind them what they're fighting for. Let us visit the Garcia family. They'll all want to know about the sheriff's support," Jake replied, fervor brewing in his blood. But as the two walked towards the Garcias, doubts still crept in. Would everyone show up? Would they come together against Riggins? Or would fear drive a wedge between them at the last moment? As they reached the Garcias' home, Jake stood tall, brushing away the nerves. The door swung open to reveal Mrs. Garcia, her expression weary yet intrigued. "You two. I heard the sheriff was here. What's going on?" "Mrs. Garcia, we need your help," Lena said urgently. "There's a meeting tonight to rally against Riggins. He's been threatening our whole community, and together we can stand stronger than his fear tactics." Mrs. Garcia's eyes widened. "I've been hearing bits and pieces. The people are scared." "We know," Jake interjected. "But we need to change that. We have the sheriff's support, and if we stand united, we can show Riggins his control over us is gone for good." "I'll spread the word," Mrs. Garcia said, her voice ringing with determination. "If the sheriff believes we can do it, maybe we can overcome." With a few more households visited, enthusiasm grew. Neighbors began to share stories of shared struggles, finding the bonds strengthened by memories of their lives together in the community. That evening, the meeting unfolded under the dim glow of lanterns outside the community center. Faces gathered, some familiar and some uncertain, but all drawn by a collective purpose. Jake stepped to the front, taking a deep breath as he faced them all. "We're here tonight because we refuse to let fear dictate our lives. Riggins wants to control us, but if we unite, we can reclaim what is rightfully ours." As the crowd listened, nods of agreement began to ripple through them. Lena stepped up beside Jake, her voice strong yet kind. "This is about more than just fighting Riggins. It's about creating a place of hope and unity for our families and the future. A murmur of excitement swelled, and for the first time, Jake felt a sense of camaraderie, a bond that transcended fear. Let us stand together tonight. What do you say? Cheers exploded around him. Faces once filled with uncertainty transformed into radiant reminders of the strength found in connection. Later, just as the storm of Riggins loomed on the horizon, Jake turned to Lena. We did it, didn't we? We rallied them just like we hoped. This strength, it's beautiful. Tears brimmed in Lena's eyes, joy interrupting her words. You believed in us, Jake. That mattered. And in that moment, with the sound of their community rallying together, Jake realized something profound. Love wasn't merely an emotion. It was a force, something that would ignite an unwavering light in even the starkest darkness. As the meeting ended and everyone began dispersing, Jake felt an echo of Lena's belief within his heart. Together, they would weather any storm. The fight for their future had only begun, and nowhere was their strength truer than side by side, unwavering against their fears. Joined together with a fire ignited, Jake and Lena were ready. As they took a step into their hopeful future, the air buzzed with possibility. Now is the time to act. Don't just watch, subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us reach more hearts. Comment your reactions and feelings about this transformation, and share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this story unfold. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second.